Wait, we're on.
We're on. All right, back at it again. I'm the futuristic baby boomer. Barely made it, last one in.
And I'm Lovely, the progressive millennial. I think I was like the first one in.
Yeah,
Not the first, probably the mid.
Because you're now old. Yeah, no question. Yeah, man. So we back at it again.
Yeah,
so, a lot of things, man, happening, man. Spring getting ready to kick.
Oh, yeah. I think this week will probably be our last 40-degree weather. You know what I mean?
Oh, the last 3 days was 65, 64.
Yeah.
All next week, 65,
Yep.
65, 67, 68. Yeah, absolutely.
And you know my birthday coming up, so I have a biological clock around this time. I can tell.
Yeah.
Because I remember more during these times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're the 24th?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I actually look forward to your birthday because I know that warm weather is going to be around the time of your birthday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everything feels good.
And everything feels good, man, when it's warmer. No question about it. Absolutely.
So what's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, man. So, a couple things. Well, first of all, our recurring guest who hasn't recurred lately will be back soon. Sent a nice little interesting article today that I thought was interesting because it talked about Gen Z and millennials who are working supposedly more hours than what boomers work. I don't know if that's true, but they are.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true. I don't see that, but it did say, and the person in the article was complaining about the fact that millennials, Gen Z have done the things they're supposed to do. They've gone and got education. They've gone to college. They've gotten master's degrees, and even with all that, they're working crazy hours a week, and they still can't afford to buy a home, and they're living back at home with their parents, and they're salty because boomers, who literally were making $30,000 a year, were able to buy a house as well as a convertible Cadillac off a $30,000 a year income, who are now looking down their old ass noses at them, saying that they're lazy and they're not working as hard as boomers work. And that was the whole thrust of the article.
Yeah, but of course the value of money was different back then versus now.
Absolutely.
One place that I experienced this, like, even I'll say throughout my lifetime of living in Liberia, even though I left when I was like 12 years old, the currency was so shitty. Like we had,
money.
We had inflation and deflation like every like a year or two. You know what I mean? Like I remember when a dollar was like a dollar US was when I was back home. What was it? Like $50, $60. When I went back in 2017 to visit, it was a dollar was equivalent to 100 Liberian dollars.
When you went back, I remember when you went back, man, you was buying everybody drinks.
It was crazy. $5, man, get 2 Guinness, $10, I'm treating like 5 dudes, you know what I mean?
You go to the bar, drinks on me.
I got one of my bros Jack and Coke, man. He drank it. He was like, yo, this is the first time I've ever had a Jack and Coke. I went, wait a minute.
How much did that cost?
I think like $5.
$5.
Yeah, five to $7, nothing more, nothing crazy. And when I drank it I popped it, poured the Coke, we talked, and he drank it, and he was just happy. And he was like, yo, this is my first time drinking Jack Daniels, man. I was like, yo, what? He's like, yeah. I was like, but it's fucking in the store. He's like, yeah, I know, but we can't afford it. We're not buying, we're not paying for that.
He works 2 months to make the money for that. He got to do other stuff.
Right. Yeah. So it blew my mind. Like Jack and Coke, this dude.
So that's the reality of what's happening here, right? I mean, so the same dynamic is happening here. And that when I read that article, and again, thanks to our recurring guest for sending that article, because it's interesting. Millennials and Gen Zers are angry, right? Because boomers are saying that they're lazy, because they're not working as hard enough to get what they need to get. And Gen Z and millennials are, frustrated and salty with boomers, I guess, thinking that, boomers are responsible for the fact that the economy is jacked like that. You feel that way?
We always make a running joke, and some of the problems we're facing now, we're like, that was a boomer thing.
Right.
I think by and large, boomers are still in power, and they're still haven't been able to adopt to current times to be able to evolve policies, technology, and all of that, pass laws for us to be able to survive and do what we need to do here. So we're like, for instance, perfect example. I'm a photographer. I fly drones. The UAE. These things weigh less than 5 pounds. Some of them 10 at the most. But they're still operating under the same laws as an unmarked aircraft, which is a warcraft. And so I have to do the part the part 107 test. I have to pretty much know the knowledge of that of a drone pilot back in the 90s just for me to fly my little UAE. I can't fly over DC, so no fly zone. Because it's protected as a red zone.
You might try to run and knock Biden off his stool.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but so those are examples of how things have progressed so much. Technology's evolved, but boomers still have the key to everything, and the thinking is still not as progressive yet. So
okay, so I mean, I grant you that. I will say that collective boomer thought, right, is not progressive.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
Because, I mean, it's generational, right?
For sure. Right.
So they look at life from the prism of you work hard, you pay your dues, you save money, you do things the right way. Again, they were raised by their parents, which were my grandparents, right? The traditionalists. And so when boomers look at millennials and Gen Z, they see y'all jumping from job to job, y'all doing remote work. Y'all don't have no loyalty to any job. You don't stay in the job a long time, and you don't really care about money necessarily. Care more about flexing for the gram and shit like that. We don't understand that shit. And so as a result, we draw conclusions. But the reality is, here's the reality. The reality is that it's not boomers' fault.
I don't think so either.
No, it's not. The fault is that the money, the U.S. currency, is some garbage. That's the reality. Because here's the thing. My dad used to tell me that he could go get a gallon of gas for 12 cents. He could take $2 and go down to the store and get a rack of groceries. Bread, eggs, sausage, a bunch of stuff. $2. You can't you can't even buy a loaf of bread for $2 right now, right?
No.
Because the currency has been debased. Ever since 1972, when Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard, right? The government's able to print as much money as they want to print. The more money they print, the more it debases the dollar. The more dollars in circulation, the more it reduces your spending power. So the reason that millennials and Gen Z are mad is because the dollars that they're earning won't buy the shit that they want. But that's not boomers' fault. That's a government's fault. That's not boomers' fault.
And the government is largely ran by boomers, right?
It doesn't matter who's run by. The government is the government. You can't be mad. I mean, yeah, you can't. Look, you can't be mad, at all boomers because the folks in government are old. Yeah, I mean, they are. But see, the other problem that you have if you go that route is the fact that millennials and Gen Zers, they don't participate necessarily as actively in the political system because they don't believe in it. So you leave it to the boomers to run it because they believe in that shit.
Okay, sure, but come on, seriously. If you kind of will lose hope if you keep trying everything in your power that you think you can do, and when you do, nothing is becoming of it. You start to realize that what I do doesn't really matter. So you focus your attention elsewhere, and then the powers that be or whatever, the system, large corporation, keep doing what they do. But it's ran on boomer mindset. That's the whole idea. When it comes to fossil fuels, when it comes to the capitalistic views, when it comes to technology and what things are being implemented to change, just about everything. When it comes to climate change. You know what I mean? I think it's the mindset of the boomers that are dragging their feet. And that's why I think, if anything, there's a possibility, I see why, one would say it's boomers' fault that things haven't been changing at the rate they need to change or adapt. to current state so we can do something. I don't know. I think
see that. I think that's your fault, because I think that's millennials' fault. That's Gen Z's fault, because you can get politically active. You don't believe that it's necessarily worth it, but if you got politically active, and again, I'm not saying all, because there are some young people that are pursuing political posts, that are getting involved in politics, that are change makers, that are focused on climate change, that are focused on that. And they understand. There is the group, in Florida that had the mass gun shootings. And when they graduated from from high school, and they became, voting age, they formed a political action committee to be able to implement, strategies to endorse candidates that were open to gun control. So, but you have to go through the political system and see. I think I fault millennials and Gen Z for not being more active, because look, if you understood the value and the power of the political process, and don't get it wrong, the folks that are in power now don't want you to get conscious. They want you to be disenfranchised. They want you to think that it's not worth it. They want you to ignore all of that. The reason they want you to ignore it is because they can continue to hold on to control and power, which is why all of them are collectively 108 to 144 years old up in there, because y'all are not stepping in to take the mantles of power to go forward. If you did, and it will happen, but if you did, you could enact the change that you want. But you're not.
Yeah, I don't know if things are about to be. Oh my gosh, I don't know how much longer that'd be the case.
It's not going to be that long.
Yeah, are you feeling that?
No, it's not, because
it's about to be a huge disruptor.
The prehistoric people in Congress are going to die.
Not only that, but so this election alone, one of the things that people are afraid of is that there's a newly released program from OpenAI. There's a text to video editor that's called Sora. That they had to even put a block on it, not producing videos of celebrities that we know, because that can affect the election, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but that's just one version of what's happening as a disruptor. We can't differentiate a teleprompter voice now from a real person's voice. That's, this is one thing that we're talking about. So it's a lot of things are going to change. It's going to have a ripple effect with government, how we do everything. Bitcoin, as we're talking about, also is going to disrupt the wealth space, right? So
Bitcoin is going to fix the wealth space,
but it's going to disrupt it before.
It's already disrupted it.
It's going to fix it.
It's going to fix it, because here's the thing. When I talked a minute ago about the fact that the dollar is being devalued constantly, the more dollars that are printed, right now, the U.S., even Jerome Powell, in his last FOMC meeting, said that the current pathway that the U.S. is on is not sustainable, because it's printed so much money, it has so much debt, that it's not going to be able to get out from under the debt that it has, right? So that's not sustainable. Bitcoin is the hardest asset that exists. Again, created by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's the hardest asset that exists. And that's why it's going to continue to rise in value, even though, folks don't want it. They got other countries. Bitcoin's already exceeded the all-time high in other countries across the world. And the other countries are like, we don't want it. Don't buy that. Don't buy that Bitcoin. Yeah, because it is the freedom currency for the people.
So, tell us why Bitcoin is considered a store of value and a form of currency at the same time.
Well, it's not. It is currency. It may become the world reserve currency, but the reason for that is that it's got a finite amount there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever mined.
Right.
And there's already been 19 million Bitcoin that have been mined.
Yeah.
Here's the salient point that's important to keep in mind.
Okay.
It is finite. And so because it's finite, any other asset you can think of, and I would defer to Michael Saylor, who does a much better job of explaining it than I will be able to do in this moment. But anything else that you can think of, any other asset you can think of, whether it's the stock for Apple. The more Apple stock that gets bought, Apple can do a buyback. They can create more shares of stock. If you're looking at oil, more oil can be produced. If you're looking at gold, if the price of gold skyrockets, people will begin to figure out more ways to mine more gold. There is no asset that if the price goes up high enough, they don't deploy assets and resources to get more of it to take advantage of the increased price. The only thing you cannot do that with is Bitcoin because it is finite. It is the hardest asset that exists. And because of that, that's why, if you put your savings into Bitcoin, you can preserve your savings and the value of your money because it is going to continue to increase. Now, Bitcoin, right now, with the ETFs haven't been approved, institutional involvements and again, let me just state right now, this is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. I am not your dad. I can't tell you what to do. Do your own research. However, and I'm not telling you to buy it. I buy it when I can because it's the best, asset performing year after year after year. But that's the reason why millennials and Gen Z are mad at boomers. Because what you're making and what you work 40 plus hours a week to make, you can't buy the things you used to buy. My dad could buy.
So therefore, we need to invest in Bitcoin because that's the new currency that's going to afford us things in the future.
I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your dad.
I'm telling you what to do.
But okay.
Do as you please.
You can do what you want.
Yeah, it's coming from my mouth. I mean, do as you please. But the point is, I had an epiphany. We will, because again, back in 2013, when my boy Timothy Kim was like, yo, you heard of this new thing, it's called Bitcoin. At the time it was $30 a share.
Oh, God, I wish I had.
People were buying pizza with it, spending it on like just foolish stuff. Some people had gained 10 and sold 10 Bitcoin within 2-3 days. Things was different back there. But the reason why back in the old days, right. But the reason why it was so like an aha moment for us, we knew it was here to stay, was because we compared it to other technology. At the time too, VR was around, virtual reality, and we were creating avatars that can live in that space. And I went to my boy Alberto's house one day and I put on the VR headset, and then I saw avatars in the 3-dimensional space, and I was playing video game and it was hitting all my senses. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking nuts. And we're like, yeah, imagine when that gets to 1-to-1 ratio, which means it's like a mirror image of yourself. There's no,
being in reality.
Yeah, and it was like, wait, so, and then people are gonna be in there more, and then we're like, yeah, imagine when they add different senses, because you can have haptic feedback. Maybe we can wear gloves and stuff, and then you can have senses so we can touch things. And then we're like, whoa, so we're gonna have friends, we're gonna have avatar in the space, so we're gonna be our representative there, and we're gonna buy things with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It was a virtual currency. And so it made sense to us in so many ways. You know what I mean? We're like, well, this thing is here to stay, obviously. Of course, add to the other things, the fact that it solves the double spending problem. Only 21 will ever be mined. But walk me through the halving, because which is
approaching.
Every so often, every 4 years, Bitcoin goes through a halving process, which the demand goes up. But was that written in the white paper, or was that created afterwards to fix a problem?
Satoshi Nakamoto created, again, whether that's one person, whether that's a male, whether that's a female, whether it's a group of people, whoever knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. But they created and it's based on cryptography. Mm-hmm. And they created Bitcoin that solved the double spend problem, like you said. And the thing about it is that built into the code of Bitcoin is that every 4 years there's a halving, and that 4-year halving is approaching. Probably will happen around April 19th this year. And what will happen is that currently there are 900 Bitcoin that are produced every day. 900. After the halving, it will be decreased by half. So it will go from 900 to 450 a day, every day, for the next 4 years. And the last Bitcoin mine will happen in 2140, if I'm not mistaken. All right. It continues to halve every 4 years and halve. And that builds in. So think about it. Every time we've had a halving in Bitcoin, within the next 18 months, Bitcoin has gone parabolic. Why? Because there's an existing amount of demand. And when you cut that existing amount of demand in half, the demand stays the same, but the supply is less. And what does that do to price? Basic economic theory, price will go up. Well, what's happening now, this is literally the perfect storm. Because with the ETFs that have been approved, and with those that are now, consuming more Bitcoin than you can imagine on a daily basis, in April, when the halving happens, Bitcoin's price has already started to move. There's never been a time when we've surpassed the all-time high of the value of Bitcoin before the halving takes place. And we are on track to do that. Bitcoin last week was $51,000. Today, it's at 61. It got as high yesterday as 63,500. It is likely and probable to get past the all-time high of $69,000 of Bitcoin.
Ooh, I remember those days.
Before the next month.
Wow, we're gonna see Bitcoin in the 70, baby. That's high. So when Bitcoin stops, when the mining stops, the halving stops as well. All of it stopped.
But no. What do you think? You're mining and halving. They're two different things.
So you can mine Bitcoin up to 21 million, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So after 21 million, there will be no more mining.
That's right. There'll be nothing else to mine.
As a result, will there be
in 2140?
In 2140,
and the year 2140.
Right. So will there be any halving happening after Bitcoin has reached 21 million?
No. And the miners will be compensated based on transaction fees at that point.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, cool. So there's no, the point is there's no way to, just like you can print more money. We saw it during the pandemic. The government with the Federal Reserve printed more money to aid people. I remember we were cashing out on $600 every 2 months. Every 2 weeks, residual from the government. And as SBA loans for small business owners, I took advantage of it. I got about $2,500 from there. I didn't want to take much because I don't like debt. But with Bitcoin, you won't be able to do that in a new economy. So what is the pros and cons? The government won't be able to just print more Bitcoin or mine more Bitcoin because of crisis. So I wonder what would society look like when you have this finite resource that now our money is backed off of, and we can't print more to save people when there's in time of need.
I don't know if Bitcoin is going to become the world reserve currency. I don't know that that's the case. I don't think that
was what it was meant to work alongside the US dollar, actually, not replace it.
Yeah, it was designed to preserve the hours that you work every day, and that millennials work, and Gen Z work, and boomers are in retirement. It's designed to preserve the value of the work that you do by being able to put it in something that's not going to be debased and lose value.
Yeah,
that's what it's designed to do. And so it does that. And so now, here's what's happening now. With the tsunami of institutional dollars that are starting to come in, the ETFs have now got boomers, right, to be able to invest in Bitcoin, who they've wanted to be invested, but they don't want to deal with self-custody. They don't want to hold their keys. They don't, they're like, I don't want to deal with that because,
you're your own bank. It's a different kind of responsibility.
They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that. It's like, they want to call their broker and say, put me in something that's going to make me money. And that's what's happening now.
Well, all you have to realize that technology, I mean, Bitcoin is almost like analog banking. People usually create a bank account. They have the money saved, it's preserved. If they have over $1 million, you advise that you put in multiple banks because FDIC approved only 250. Even if you get that,
FDIC would
insure
only a certain amount,
right? But it's not even guarantee that you may get that. People are used to having a lot of things on automatic for themselves. It's like working and then being your own business owner. Not everybody can be their own business owner because you have to wear multiple hats. Things that your employer will automatically fill in for you. You just clock in and do your task and go home and get paid. So asking people to be their own bank is also a level of difficulty. And so people get in Bitcoin. I mean, that's why Coinbase is important. That's why what do you call it? Before Bitcoin is now available in the stock market, but before that, these technology platform that allowed you to just like regularly put your dollar in and get investments in Bitcoin has been a game changer. And we need to do more of that to where people can go, oh, I don't need to understand the white paper of Bitcoin for me to invest. And that's what we need to get to. Or we need to have a shift in how we think about mining or guiding our money and investing. Maybe we need to be more educated.
So I look at it a little differently, only because, yes, the ETFs are great. Yes, the ETFs have opened up the opportunity for anybody to be able to participate in the Bitcoin ecosystem by simply going through the ETFs to be able to buy it. Personally, I think that, self-custody, where you're your own bank, allows you to be self-sovereign, to be able to have control of your own wealth and not have it to be at risk of being censored. I mean, just like your bank account at a bank could be shut down. They can shut your bank account down.
Yep.
They can take your funds.
Yep.
They can do whatever. If in the ETF, they can take your Bitcoin. They can shut it down. They have the same ability to do that. If you self-custody, you are in control of your wealth. And that's a better position to be. But a lot of, boomers and older folks don't want to embrace that. The key is that there's about to be a transfer. All the boomers. We got an expiration date. And time is coming to an end, right? Which one perspective is, we check it out in the next 10 to 15, 20 years, but that's okay because the Earth's not going to be inhabitable anyway because climate change is going to make it so you can't even live here. So that's okay. We're going to be out.
Yeah.
But others are like, we're going to be able to inherit all that, money that the boomers are leaving. Right? Well, the millennials and Gen Z that inherit that, what are they going to do? They're going to put it in Bitcoin because they believe in that technology. And that's going to do what? Increase the price of Bitcoin even further.
So Bitcoin is the future. All in all,
Bitcoin is the future. Absolutely, it's the future.
And, and that's why that's not a regular boomer because he's
absolutely
he's a embryonic baby
and
boomer.
That's thanks to you.